Welcome back to the Pommy in Oz channel. We are doing the second part of the Tigers Pies preview, which I will be live for 7:45 today at time of watching, tomorrow at time of recording. I'm joined by longtime friend of the channel, host of fantastic YouTube content, Winston Travel. It's a fantastic vlog channel. You get to see a bit of Europe, and I believe you're doing Australia this year. So check that out. Link is in the description. Robert, how are you doing, my friend?
Pommy, mate, I'm doing really well, and it's an absolute pleasure to be on the fan preview for the big clash between the Pies and the Tigers on Friday night footy.
Mate, this one probably is the most exciting game on paper. We've got the young pretenders now. After a few years of mediocrity, the Pies, they're now the big boys. They're the favourites. They're coming into this playing of crash bash style, where we've got the wily old heads of the Tigers who have probably seen a few upstarts before and they've usually punished them. It's a game for the ages, a few outs, but how are you feeling about this one, Rob?
Well, it's a really good question, Pom. It's a huge clash, and being a Melburnian myself, these games, if I was in Melbourne currently, I'm currently in Western Australia in the middle of nowhere, but these games do mean so much to the yellow and black faithful, and obviously the Collingwood contingent alike. I mean, when you get started, Friday night football back in the 90s, this used to mean so much, and it still does to this day. Even in my mid-30s, my friend. But I'm excited for the clash. And as you say, Collingwood are in some good form. There's been some media talk from last year. They were sort of the cheap Pies. They got over the line many, many times by less than a kick. But here they are. They're 2-0. And I'm looking forward to talking about this game coming up. Big Friday night clash. Tigers v Pies.
Well, you talk about Friday night footy, and it's quite impressive because it feels like not since the 90s, we've seen the big four in and around the 8. There's the Pies there, there's the Tigers, there's my mob, Carlton, where Essendon are sneaking in there as well, 2-0. It does feel like this is probably a fixture now that has two of probably, I would say as a Carlton fan, it's a big honour this, but two of the sexiest sides to watch play football when they're in their full pomp. And I think the styles both of you play makes the perfect fight for a Friday night.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I was obviously down in Melbourne a couple of weeks ago. I saw Richmond and the Blue Boys in action live at the MCG. Ended up in a draw, Pom. Obviously, my prediction, 97 points, didn't quite work out for the Tigers there. But you talk about style of play, and I think Collingwood probably will trouble Richmond with their pace because they are a young side. I mean, if you look at their midfield, I've just noted out here, Sidebottom, Mitchell, and Dacos. That midfield is the creme de la creme. And obviously, if you look at, I know you're going to probably get to this, but you look at the Richmond's outs, Martin, Hopper, Short, and Broad. I mean, across all lines, that in itself is a big question mark over the Tigers. And the question for the Tigers is really, how can we improve as a side in only the third week of the season with a lot of young players, a lot of no-name, no-frills kind of players? That's the big question mark I've got over the yellow and black heading into what pretty much is a just about full-strength Collingwood outfit heading into Friday night football.
It is a shame that injuries and suspension have kind of robbed us, because I think I did say last week about Collingwood, even though they're impressive, this was before your injuries. I thought Dimmer's natural game plan probably is the antichrist of Collingwood's. You don't care if you attack. That's where you score. You score when you're at your best. And it's going to be an interesting one. But I will say this, and I said this to Swoop Luke, I always think Richmond are one of them teams that when they're wounded, if you start to think, oh, we can run over the top of them, Dimmer pulls a rabbit out of the hat. So what is that rabbit? What can you see Dimmer doing to try and stop these rampant Pies?
Well, it's a great question, Pom. And I've got it down to our backline. It's going to be as simple as this, because I think just based on paper, if you look at it on paper, Collingwood have got the more talented midfield and they are in hot form currently. But I've jotted down here, Bolter, Grimes, Vluston, and I've hashtagged Rioli. Rioli, we know he's playing that half-back role. We know he's a quick mover, quick thinker. He knows how to put other midfielders and other forwards into the game by putting the ball out into space when he's rebounding off that half-back line for the Tigers. So I automatically think we're going to lose the midfield battle. So it's going to be up to our backs, and especially those four players that I just mentioned, Bolter, Grimes, Vlaston, and Rioli, who are our more experienced backline there, to counter-attack and beat their forwards, because I think the forward entries for the Pies is going to be subliminal. I think they're going to get a lot of clearances, and they're smart with the football. McRae's got them playing really smart, quick football, and it's going to be up to our backs if they can work out a system to essentially counter-attack, and I'm expecting a high-scoring affair at the MCG on Friday night.
It should be a real ripper, and I know, speaking to Swoop, the guy he earmarks he's scared of, and I think every team is scared of him, is Tom Lynch. And I know the Collingwood faithful have got a bit excited about Billy Frampton. They've made some bold claims about old Big Billy, saying that he could be an all-Australian fullback, but he's going to have his work cut out against Tom Lynch. Is that a battle there that you feel, if you can get them one-on-one, that Tom Lynch can exploit?
Well, it's funny, before we even had this conversation, you asked me who's going to be our match winner, and I think Tom Lynch. I mean, there's a reason we got him across from Gold Coast. We paid him massive money in a time where our salary cap, in theory, couldn't have got him, but he's delivered in spades since 2019, and he delivered in spades in round number 1, kicking the equaling goal with about 17 seconds to go against the Blue Boys. But honestly, it's Tom Lynch, because he's 29 years old. He's our key forward. Jack Revolt is a shadow of his former self. So it's Tom Lynch. If our mids can at least break even with the Collingwood mids, I believe, they put it out into space. They use other smaller players as decoys in that forward line, and Lynch can kick 4 or 5 goals. That's going to be a huge factor why Richmond will win this game if they are to do so.
The guy I earmarked as well, who I have a love-hate relationship with him. We have previous, me and Mr. Shy Bolton. I look at him, though, in the absence of Dustin Martin, as that guy that can be the difference maker. I think a lot's expected of him, and he hasn't had the greatest start to the season after the great work last year. Is Bolton someone you think that can maybe be the man? Because this is a game set up for him, isn't it? Friday night. We know he likes his footy on Friday.
Yeah, definitely. Shy Bolton, what a player he is. I'm so glad he signed a long-term deal with Richmond. But I think Bolton is one of those flary players. If he thrives on confidence, he thrives on the contest, and he thrives on the atmosphere of what is. So if he can get a sniff early, I could see him building into the game and being that match winner, especially after half-time if the scores are tight. He could easily be a match winner, and it's a good play that you mentioned, because if it was up to me, I'd give him a 10-year contract, Pom. But, Bolton, all these X-factor players have got to have a serious influential difference on the contest, because if they don't, I just feel Collingwood are going to be a little bit too strong. But Bolton is a very good, I suppose, not even a smoky. He is a match winner, but he has to build the confidence early in the game. If he can snag one early, I reckon he might be on for the rest of the game.
And when you look at the Magpies, you've talked about the midfield. Obviously, they've recruited heavily in there. Tom Mitchell, he doesn't really need much kudos. We all know how good he is. Is there anyone, though, at the Pies that you think, if we can stop him, we win this game?
Well, I'm glad to see Mason Cox is out of the lineup, because we all know what happened 5 years ago in that final, in the prelim, as we were charging towards back-to-back in 2018. So it's good to see the old American Pie out of the lineup. But for me, and probably it's the obvious one, Dacos, young player, 20 years old, absolutely tearing the competition apart. He's quick, unpredictable. He's got that flair about him that his dad did back in the day. The Macedonian Marvel, as they once called him, down at Victoria Park. it's got to be him. And, he's just moved into favourite for the Brownlow medal as well. And Dacos. But also I wanted to mention Jamie Elliott. I think we know he's another player who can get off the chain. And just like a Shai Bolton, if he gets that confidence up, he doesn't need to get, 25 disposals and be very efficient. All he needs is a 10, 15 disposal game in the forward pocket, and he can kick 5 or 6 goals that can completely tear sides apart. He can kick 3 goals in a quarter. So I've mentioned those 2 players, and I think, Dacos is the one to watch, but Elliott up forward, I'm definitely a little bit scared of what he's going to produce on the big bright lights of Friday night footy.
He's another player that he doesn't mind a snag at the G in an important time, does old Jamie Elliott. But we go on to the team selection. Obviously, you've mentioned Mason Cox. He misses 4 weeks with a hematoma. You guys missing quite, like you say, it's almost an A-list out. Dustin Martin, Hopper, Short, Broad, Ralph Smith, Ross, and Judson Clark, the superhero. I love this kid. A lot's going to be expected on here. What did you think of the team selection? It seems you've gone quite aggressive, to be fair.
And it's a great observation, Pommy, because, I said earlier in the conversation, our backline is going to be the key. So I think we've brought in some pretty quick players just by having a look who we've brought in. We've got a lot of young kids in there. So we're kind of going in a little bit blind, a little bit unknown. We don't really know what to expect. But I believe Dimmer's going to just say to the guys in the change rooms, guys, we're going up against a fast-paced side. Let's try and beat them at their own game. And I think, Dimmer Harwick. And let's mention 300 games as Richmond coach. I remember the Delgium days of 2009 when we finished bottom of the ladder. We were terrible. Terry Wallace had just got the sack. Damien Hardwick came across as a 38-year-old coach. So big kudos to Damien Hardwick. 3 premierships, and what a ride it's been, especially the last 5 years. It's been absolutely amazing. So, but to answer your question, I think we're going to go head-to-head. I think we're going to try and beat them at their own game, Pom. I really do, with just pure youthfulness and pace, and let's, I guess, try and beat the Pies at what we already know they're going to try and beat us with on Friday night.
It's interesting as well, because I've been quite bold in this, that I think Carlton and Richmond have kind of been stiffed a little bit by the media in the terms of that we've played each other. And I think everyone saw that draw. And let's be honest, it wasn't the sexiest thing to watch. I mean, it was a bit like a weekend at your mother-in-law's. It wasn't enjoyable. But I think people forget that both of us are bona fide top 8 sides, I think, based on what we've seen. The clubs above us have played some of the worst sides in the comp. Sydney, everyone's talking about them. I actually think that helps Richmond and Carlton, because I think everyone's focus is on Sydney. And that's why I look at this game and think this could be a potential banana skin for the Pies.
Especially in Melbourne media, you don't hear it as much as far as over here in Western Australia, where I currently am. But I do think so. I mean, why not? Like, Collingwood have had all the kudos. They've had all the pundits talking about them, especially I've been watching, Robbo got on Fox Footy, and even on the couch, they're talking up the Pies' chances this year, especially from the back end of last year. So does it give, I suppose, the likes of Carlton and Richmond a bit of an edge? And I think it does. I think why not? We're kind of going in with youth this week. And to further extend that question and answer, I think Carlton are sort of going under the radar a little bit too. I mean, pretty slow form, but you beat Geelong, the reigning premiers, last week. So definitely by the strength of Collingwood, and not only the strength, the dominance of their performances. And you mentioned dominance, 155.7% percentage points after 2 rounds is a huge statistic. So, why not? I think we are sneaking under the radar just a little bit.
And what's your prediction, Robert? We're going to be sat down tomorrow night on this show watching it. I am. What am I going to see? Am I going to be seeing the Tigers win?
Well, you know me, Pom. I can never back against my boys, mate. Rain, hail, or shine. As William Wallace once said, And as you would know this, we will fight to the death. So in typical my sense of humour style, we're not going the 97 points against Carlton, but I think the Tigers can get up. And we're going to go the sneaky 3 points. I think it's going to be a close contest. If we do what I said they should be able to do, we can win. If we don't, we could lose by 7 goals plus. But if we do the things I said we potentially can do, it's the Tigers, Mighty Tigers by 3 points on a big game, Friday night football. Looking forward to it, mate.
Mate, I can't wait to watch this game with everyone on the channel. But Robert, mate, I love you to pieces. Can't wait to have a beer and a sit down with you when you get over to Melbourne. Everyone in chat, go and check his YouTube out. Go and give him a subscribe. It's fantastic content and he works really hard. One of the hardest workers that I know. But Robert, mate, thank you very much and good luck, Tigers.
Appreciate it, mate. And appreciate you giving me a shout out on Winstone Travel. Some big vlogs coming up next week. Rottnest Island with the Quackers. And I'm going to be doing a vlog in Fremantle, top 5 things to do. So anyone who likes travel content, please check out my channel.
Cheers, Robert, mate. Look after yourself.